This is a continuation of the Ba Gua Vortex videos that I've been making. And these are just short segments that elaborate on the Ba Gua circle walking. These are just freebies, okay? I don't even know how I got into showing this stuff because I never intended to teach or show anything about Ba Gua. It's a very deep art. There are thousands of fantastic experts and super masters all over the web, all over the world. I did train it intensively for a long time, but it's not my thing, okay? But people love it for some reason. So when the old Ox Tai Chi video came out, I just mentioned a couple of things about Ba Gua, and then more and more people started asking me about it, so I thought I would elaborate on the earlier video I made and just take it to a final culmination point so that you have the complete picture of the most basic practice. And then, of course, you should go to China or go wherever and seek out, go to California or somewhere and seek out some super hyper master, and you can devote your rest of your life to Ba Gua studies. But if you just want the foundation, the core internal practice of Ba Gua, that is the bedrock on which all that other incredibly hyper elaborated stuff has to be built, then study these three videos, the first one, second one, and now this is the third, okay? This is going to be short and sweet. I need to make one more final point. If you have understood the first two videos, it's crucial. If you haven't worked that into your practice, if you haven't established a practice based on that vortex stuff, that counterlocking thing I've been talking about in the first, second, and now I'll be finishing it up here. If you haven't experienced that, if it means nothing to you, if you think, oh, it's just another bullshit way of walking, who cares? You know, some teachers say this, some say that. Doesn't matter. Put your foot this way, put your hand that way. You know, what kind of hairstyle should you have? If you think like that, get out. This isn't for you, okay? You haven't felt it. You haven't experienced it. So you're not experienced, okay? In the Hendrix sense. So get out and forget it. Just go back to your stylistics, dance, performance, or kick ass. Maybe you throw people and toss them and trip them and sweep them and have a good time with their body. That's great. That has nothing to do with this. This is just about energy. Okay. Now let's talk. Just a very brief review of the first video. Talks about the most important thing, which is the hip and waist segment being counter-turned in your mind and in your energy, not much physically, to the hand pressure, the lower hand pressure in particular, but actually the whole upper assembly of your collarbone and upper rib cage and shoulders and arms are in your mind and in your energy. They're working against the turn of the waist at every step, okay? That's the point of the first video. There's a counter vortex going on there. That's essential. If you haven't understood that, go back and watch the first video. Second video talks about adding a third element to this counter vortex thing, so that your feet and legs are consciously now, not just walking the circle because somebody told you that's the shape to walk. That's mechanical. That's not what I'm talking about, although it looks the same. Now, you feel that you're actually rotating your entire leg assembly from the femoral joint to the foot and every piece thereof. Both legs, the active leg, of course, is the one more involved at each point, whether it's the inner or outer leg, is rotating with the circle. Meanwhile, the pelvis and hips continue, just like the first video, to oppose that in your mind and energy. Don't go nuts physically. It's not a calisthenic. And then, of course, the upper assembly, the arms and shoulders and collarbones, are, again, with the legs and the circle. So they're countering the base that's just below them, which is essentially the hips and waist and pelvis. So you've got those three segments. They're slightly different three segments than in the old Ox presentation. Tai Chi and Ba Gua are just slightly different in that way, but it doesn't matter. You get the idea, right? It's a counter vortex thing. And then on the change, whoosh, it all goes together. Suddenly, differently from the walk, 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 step, 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 step. Then when you change, boom, you'll feel it unlocks and it all goes together like Tai Chi. All the segments based on the lowest one, the legs and then the hips, pelvis, right out through your hands. It all goes together. So that's cool. Just on the changes, all right? Then you go back to the counterlock right away. The countering, the middle section countering. Okay, so anyway, what's the point of this video? The point of this video is to give you the culmination of the whole thing. And that is what you do with your forward hand. Now, you should know that the essential shape of the Ba Gua hand is very similar to Xing Yi Chuan. It's got its tiger mouth. You've got the index finger basically vertical, more or less privileged in terms of its focus and position with respect to the other hands other fingers which fall off naturally. And then the thumb is fairly straight. So it's a vertical sort of standing hand, and this is the normal configuration. And most people just kind of set up for this and then forget about it, okay? What I'm going to tell you is to give you the final culmination if you've understood the body vortex. If you don't have the body foundation, this entire video will be meaningless and you're just playing with your hand. Who cares? Okay, so that's the setup for it. You want to keep that shape, and you have to keep on doing this. This may be mentally overburdening some of you at first until you learn to get the knack of it. You're going to have to keep the mental and energetic configuration of the body even as you now incorporate this new thing that I'm telling you right now, okay? So that may be a bit too much, so forget it. You could just set your hand like this and just concentrate on the walking part. That's fine. If you want to go further, the first thing you would do is, as you walk, you start with your hand fairly rotated inward, and then as you're walking, the hand is actually moving too, okay? It's moving in the same direction as the top segment, so it's moving with the circle. The only thing moving against the circle is your hips and pelvis. Everything else, the legs, the upper assembly of the arms, the lower hand, and the upper hand are all rotating with the circle, okay? So that's the first thing. That's very easy. A lot of teachers say that it doesn't matter much. But that's something you want to keep in mind. And it's very soft. It's not like, crank it, you know. It's just like a feeling, because otherwise you'll exhaust it right away. You'll think, oh, cool, I rotate with a circle, bang, you know, your first step, boom. You've already wasted it, right? You've wasted all that space because you wanted to get to it, get a flip in there, right? No, that's too physical. Now you're still thinking physically, right? No, this is very subtle because you don't have that much space to play with, right? Before it becomes a weird exaggeration of some kind. So that's not the way. You want to just go very subtly. So step, 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 step. And it's just going a little bit with each step. This is very good mental training. So that's the first thing. But that's not that big a deal. The most important thing is, given that, do that, incorporate that. And now, here's what you do with your mind. You are rotating. You're doing this rotating thing. That's fine. Put your mind on this meat. Okay, you've got two meat zones here in your hand. Okay, one is this meat on the edge of the hand. Okay, the other is this meat at the base of the thumb and heading towards the middle of the hand. In the center of the hand, you've got the Lao Gong point. This Lao Gong point is what everybody loves to focus on because it sounds exotic and cool. And it's kind of a, you know, there's something mentally appealing about like the center of your palm is emitting death rays or, I don't know, Spider-Man webs or something. So that's a cool idea. But that is the last point that will activate. Actually, you'll feel a little buzz there. That's no big deal. Anyone can feel that in 15 minutes. You know, teach them in 5 minutes how to feel a little buzz in your Lao Gong point. Wow. But that's not the point. The deeper point, it's going to take some time for you, is to infuse all this meat here with the tangible, palpable energy that you can feel, that you experience. It's real, okay? It's a real thing. Don't think of it as a concept, a word, a philosophy, a metaphor, or some physical thing that's just misunderstood because all those ancient masters were all stupid people living in the Stone Age. No, it's not like that. This is real, okay? So it's real here and it's real here. And you're going to feel the energy if you do all the body right. See, it comes from the body. It doesn't come from the Lao Gong point or any other place within the hand. It comes from the body. So what it's going to do is the energy is going to come through your body, fill your arm, and it's going to fill the meat here. And you're going to feel that. It's as though someone injected some... I don't know, like I never had Botox or anything, but maybe it's like that. Like someone injected some Botox, or if you want, I don't know, pick your own chemical that's more appealing to you. It's like somebody injected something in there. I've used these colored pads to show the area, stickers to emphasize the areas that you're going to need to work on. So you keep this shape, and this meat, think of it as an upright sort of edge of substance, and that substance is where you put your mind. Your mind treats this edge, this meaty edge where I've used this sticker to indicate the main area, as a sort of a standing wall of substance, and put your mind there. Do the soft rotation, do the whole body thing, put your mind here, and you will feel this infused as though it's a Botox injection or some other, I've never had Botox, okay, but obviously, but some sort of something is filling it, like a sponge being dipped in water. You'll feel that warm fill. That's the energy, and it'll come into both meaty areas of your hand as you do the circle. Switch to the other hand, same thing on the other hand. I don't have stickers here, but that's what you want, okay? So just do that, and that will activate it during the walk. And then when you stand, you can use your mind, put your mind here again to these two meaty areas on each hand. And you can stand quietly at the end. You'll feel that again, filling up. It's as though water is streaming into that area. And you can hold that charge. This is part of holding the charge, okay? Then later, you don't have to just limit it to the Ba Gua walk. You can use this, just trigger it with your mind instantly. Just boop, fill, fill. It's like you mentally tell your hand to fill, fill, fill. All these pads and zones will fill. And of course, it'll leak out through the whole hand. And it'll backwash too. And then it becomes a circulation, but it concentrates, it fills these areas. So you don't have to do much more than put your mind into this zone, okay? This colored zone where the stickers are. Keep your shape. This is your secondary zone, the inner chunk of meat here. The main one is this one. If you can fill this one will fill automatically, okay, this inner one. So the outer one, as you walk, as you very slightly and softly have the idea of rotating the hand, the vertical hand, with the circle you're walking, in the direction of the circle you're walking, imagine that you're softly pressing this edge vertically against something, like a wall or a pole. Maybe there's a pole in the middle of the circle you're walking, and you're just very softly pressing that, keeping that in contact with something. That will be enough to trigger your mind to send the energy here, and then it will leak through and permeate through here, and you'll be good to go. You'll really start to feel that and learn to control it. And then you can feel that in Tai Chi and Xing Yi and everything, even in just daily life, just waiting in line or anything you're doing. People think about what is Tai Chi in daily life, right? They think, well, does it mean continuous motion, like a short order cook should be slick and smooth and aware of every cut he makes and every dish he serves and all that? Is that Tai Chi in daily life? That's the obvious thing, right? I guess it should be, but that's a little too obvious. Another aspect of Tai Chi in daily life is the idea of, well, if you're standing somewhere, you can kind of root into the earth as you're standing, and people won't notice, but you'll be doing it. And that's another sort of Tai Chi in daily life thing, right? But those both are superficial compared to this, because this is purely mental. You can just fill these areas of your hand with your mind at any time. Bring that charge there. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And that, without any stance, without any motion, without anything visible at all, that is Tai Chi in daily life.